Hi everybody and welcome to the Big Blue Tent video section. You're here with Matt Guppy and I've got the B6.1, the new one that's coming out from Team Associated, to have a look through this today. This is Neil Cragg's car, as you probably all can tell from the shell. Before I go into it, I want to say a quick thanks to all of the Big Blue Tent sponsors. We've got CML Distribution, you can see them up behind me here. There is Nuclear RC, who do all of our technical wizardry and bits and bobs that's going on today, and of course we took on a new sponsor recently, Schumacher Racing, who have come on to support the Big Blue Tent, so thank you very much guys. Okay, so looking at what we've got here, like I say, it's the new B6.1 from Team Associated. This one should be coming out in the next month or so. We will go into a few of the different features on the car, have a look through the chassis, and of course what's changed from the current B6 car that is out on the market. So I think what we'll do, let's pop the shell off and have a look inside and see what's been going on. Obviously the guys at Team Associated have been doing a lot of work on these towards the rear end of the car, which has been their real sort of focus on it. Not a great deal of changes as far as the front end is concerned. You have of course got the new shock towers front and rear, and I suppose the biggest difference on this is the plastic sort of tower guard that's on the front part. Now what you will notice is if I put the two cars side by side, so you've got the B6.1 and the B6 next to each other, is that the B6.1 tower, you'll notice the shocks are right out on the outside. And that's because basically on the B6, nobody was using these outside holes. So I think Team Associated, what they did was they just did away with them. Moved the tower inwards. I guess that's given it a bit more strength as well. So, you know, we've lost the position going outwards, but it's a position that we never really used anyway, as far as the team was concerned. So anything else that's changed on the front? There's not really a great deal, to be fair. You can see, you know, Neil's been running these flat arms. I was running the flat arms on my B6 anyway. They seem to be a bit better for holding the corners and making the car a bit more consistent to drive. But other than that, I think if we can have a look inside there, I'll pop that one up to the camera there, see if we can get a nice focused in shot on the front. There's not really a lot from one car to the other that's changed on that front end or the steering mechanism there. So the chassis on the front, exactly the same. You've got your same weight distribution points underneath the electrics, underneath the servo, the same as you've got on the B6. That hasn't changed at all. There's still plenty of room underneath the battery to get a brass battery LiPo weight in there, just to give you a bit more stability on the fast sort of high grip tracks. One thing I believe has changed on the steering are the +1 steering knuckles, or the steering arm parts that come off of these front steery bits. They are now in the kit, I believe, the +1 steering arms on those. So that is probably all that's changed on the front end of the car. But the big changes, and I know the ones everybody wants to have a look at, is the rear end. So let's swap this around. And I think the first thing you can notice, if I put that way, our other camera will pick it up there. So the first thing you'll notice is that there is a big difference in the bulkhead at the back compared to the B6. Now what they've done is they've done away with the need to have a separate bulkhead on here. This is all now one piece in with the gearbox, so it's all one solid piece back here. That's not going anywhere. You can see it's bolted straight up through the bottom. We've lost a couple of screws on the back of the gearbox. You're not really going to need them anymore because obviously the chassis is a bit shorter. The gearbox sits slightly differently, but we've still got the same ones up at the front. So what they've done is they've made it interchangeable between the two cars. So you can have the old gearbox on this chassis, which is obviously a bit shorter. It will bring the motor a little bit further forwards. in relative terms to the length of the chassis. But yeah, that's quite an interchangeable bit of kit, really. So one of the other parts that's changed, you can see on the B6, how well you can see that in here, but the C-brace. Now on the B6.1, that is a complete change. So where the screw holes were on the outside of this C-brace, they're now on the inside of the C-brace. It's the same pills, it's the same inserts that go in it to adjust all your angles at the back, tip your, do your anti-squat, do your toe in and toe out. That's all exactly the same, so those are interchangeable between the two cars. What we're looking at here is the slipper adjuster. That is clearly on the other side of the gearbox. Now that's just going to keep everything a bit more tucked in, make the car a little bit more balanced. From what Team Associated are saying, this is just going to bring everything, centralise all the weight. You're not going to have anything sticking out of the shell like you do on the B6. On the other side of the gearbox, obviously these plates have changed as well. So this is a clamp system now rather than the spring system that was on it before. And of course, one of the big benefits is the easy access diff. Now, there are a simple matter of 5 screws on the gearbox. Take the 2 bottom or top shock screws or nuts off, and this whole piece is going to lift out. Now, that's just going to make it so much easier and so much quicker to do the gear diff or ball diff changes on a race meeting between the rounds. And it's been a big call, I think, from a lot of people that were running the B6 and doing work on it between rounds. You really had to make a lot of planning to be making a change to your diff in between one round and another, whether it's qualifying or whether it's finals. So if we flip the car over again, what you can see on the back end are these new rear arms that Team Associated have put on the B6.1. Now they are a lot thicker and a lot more sturdy than the original B6 arms. Now, a lot of us, you can see on my B6, we're running the B64 rear arms. And this was just to bring the wheelbase out a little bit from where it was before. So we've run everything shorter to bring everything back in line. But what Team Associated have done with these, they've made them very, very similar to the B64 arms, so they're a lot closer to the B64 arms than they were before. And I believe that's just going to make the car easier to land, easier on your high-speed corners. It should give you a bit more durability as well. Not that there was any durability issues with the old ones, but if they're a bit thicker material, that's obviously going to give you slightly more durability on there. So looking at the inserts on the rear arms, what we've got is 4 shock positions now on these rear arms. Now, whether you're mounting these on the front or on the back, makes no difference. The positions are exactly the same. So you've got 4 different positions there, whereas on the B6, you only had the 2 to choose from, sort of an inner or an outer hole. That's just going to make adjustability on this car so much better. You're really going to be able to fine tune it into the track you're on, whether it's high grip, whether it's low grip. It's pretty much got it all covered now. There are some other pieces, bits and bobs on the car as well. You've got the gearbox inserts. I believe there are 3 different heights you can have this your diff. So rather than worrying about your shim kits to raise your entire gearbox up, which meant that your motor was higher, everything else was higher on it as well, you're now just changing these inserts where the diff out drives are. So it is just very simple. Pop the case off at the back, put your new inserts in, raise or lower your diff depending on what sort of ride height you want. And of course, that is just going to make it much easier to keep these drive shafts level, which is what we're all aiming for. Other than that, the new shock tower on the back, that's slightly thicker than the old one. Slightly different shape, not hugely different to the old B6. Slightly different shape on the top, but it is a lot thicker. And again, durability wise, that's going to make a big difference to the car. I know a few people were putting these things upside down over jumps, like you do when you're pushing hard. But these really are going to take a hell of a battering before you're going to snap one of those. So I'm quite impressed to see that from Team Associated putting them on there. Obviously not wanting to sell any spares with this car. And I suppose the last thing, realistically, the last thing we're looking at is the way that they've mounted the anti-roll bar. So on the rear end, this used to be those two little push-in and screw-in clamps that were on the back. I'll hold my one up to the camera and you can see where the mounts used to be. So what we've got now is solid top plate which comes off with the diff cover, and that just clamps your anti-roll bar in place and you've got a solid fixing for it. Much better, much easier to sort of change things around, much easier to work on the whole. I'd say the car feels absolutely solid. You know, there's plenty of adjustability in it like there was with the B6, and I think what we're looking at with this is basically just a big upgrade from the B6. So the B6.1, not a completely new car, slightly different chassis length, not a completely new car. This is an upgrade to your B6. All the parts on this, as far as the gearbox is concerned, are transferable to your B6. You know, the positions where your holes are drilled on the chassis are the same for your gearbox. So that'll all fit from one car to the other. There are a few bits that won't. The C brace, the blue brace at the front, which holds your arms on, that's not going to be transferable between the cars. The front shock tower, that will change from one car to the other. So if you do like the old shock towers, you do want those extra wide positions. Like I say, I don't know anybody that was using them, but if you do want them, it will still fit on the new car. So if you're looking for a new kit, B6.1 should be out in a month or so. Can't see you going far wrong with this one. Thanks very much to Neil Cragg for sending the car through. Thanks to Team Associated for letting us have a nice close look at it. We'll take a few pictures, we'll pop a few close-ups up online as well so that they'll play after the video. And if you want to have another look at the car, if you want to ask us any questions, pop a comment below, or please come and have a look on the Big Blue Tent Facebook page or in the Big Blue Tent Facebook group. Okay guys, well thank you very much for listening in. I hope you've enjoyed the rundown on the B6.1 from Team Associated. I just want to say a quick thanks to our sponsors again, CML Distribution, you can see behind me, Nuclear RC for doing all of our technical bits and bobs, and of course our new guys that have come on board, Schumacher Racing. Thank you very much for all your support everybody, really appreciate it. If you could give us a like on the bottom of the video there, that would be superb. Share it far and wide as you can. The car is going to be out in the next month or so. I haven't got any precise release dates on this yet, but it is coming pretty quick. So if you're looking for a new buggy for the summer, this could be the one for you. Thanks guys, see you all again soon.